The next method for solving quadratic equations we want to look at is completing the square. Completing the square takes several steps. If you follow the steps in order and you're very, very careful, you shouldn't have a lot of trouble with it. But if you leave one step out, you're usually going to miss it. So let's just sort of condense these into words that are a little bit easier to jot down for our notes. Step 1 says that the coefficient of the square needs to be 1. So let's just say divide both sides by a. But you only have to do that if a isn't already equal to 1. So if a already equals 1, you can skip step 1. The second step is really different than factoring. Factoring, we want it equal to 0. But for completing the square, we want the constant on what side? On the right. We're going to move the constant to the right. So once we have everything equal to the constant, the third step, and this is the step where it actually gets its name from, the third step is to take half of the b coefficient, square it, and add it to both sides. So we're going to add half of b squared to both sides. That's the third step. The fourth step, you're going to factor the left side. And the left side will always factor if you have completed the square properly in step 3. If you added the right thing to both sides, in step 4, the left side should always factor into a perfect square binomial. So we'll factor the left. And we'll combine like terms on the right. The next step is to apply the square root to both sides. You should simplify any radicals you have into the simplest form. It's easier if you go ahead and do that now rather than later. And then finally, isolate the x. Do any last minute cleanup. You should have your final answers. Example 4. Use completing the square to solve x squared plus 4x minus 6 equals 0. The nice thing about this equation is that the leading coefficient is already 1, so we don't have to divide through by anything. A is already equal to 1. So we can skip straight to that second step. There's a lot of s's in here. And move the constant to the right. Now, this is the part where a lot of people mess up. I need to take half of b. So what's b?
4.
What's half of 4? 2. Square it. 4. So back to 4. And add it to both sides. So take half of b, square it, and add it to both sides. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. Once we do that, we're going to factor the left side, and it will always factor, even if it looks like it won't. Now this one we know factors, it should factor into the same thing twice. But even if it looked like it wouldn't factor, it will if you've done this properly up to this point. It will always factor into this variable without the square, so just x. This sign plus, and then whatever half of that was before you squared it. So whatever half of b is, and that should be in parentheses squared. That's how you always factor the left side. That's how a perfect square trinomial will factor. And that equals 10. Then we take the square root of both sides. That gives us x plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 10. At this point, if you can simplify the right side, do it. But the square root of 10 doesn't simplify. It doesn't have any perfect square factors. Finally, we need to subtract 2 from both sides to isolate the variable. So we have x equals -2 plus or minus the square root of 10. Now normally I would let you stop there. There's really no reason to take that apart, but I think you're going to have to for WebAssign. I think you're going to have to write it separately. -2 minus the square root of 10, -2 plus the square root of 10.
What about in your testing quizzes?
You can stop here for testing quizzes. There's really no reason to split it apart other than just WebAssign won't accept the plus or minus symbol. Now let's look at x onto x plus 3 equals 2. The first thing we want to do is distribute the x. So we have x squared plus 3x equals 2. The nice thing is that the leading coefficient's already 1, so I don't have to divide through by a, and the constant's already on the right, so steps 1 and 2 are already done for us. We just have to figure out what to add to both sides. If the b value is 3, I need to add what to both sides?
2.25.
Let's give it as a fraction. 9/4, yeah. 9/4. So half of 3 is 3/2, and to square it, you just square the top and the bottom. So we're going to add 9/4 to the left and to the right. At this point, the left side should factor into x plus half of b quantity squared. And then 2 plus 9/4 is 17/4. 17/4. 2 plus 9/4. 17/4. Now let's take the square root of both sides. The left side becomes x plus 3/2. And the right side becomes plus or minus. Now we have to split up the top and bottom and simplify them separately. So the square root of 17 over the square root of 4. Well, the square root of 17 won't simplify, so we'll leave that. But the square root of 4 becomes what? 2. Which is nice because now they have a common denominator. Then we move the 3/2 to the other side, and when we do, we get x equals -3/2 plus or minus the square root of 17/2. It's this point that I think WebAssign is going to become very confusing for a lot of you. So here's the answer. And typically, we just say, oh, they both have a 2 on the bottom, so we'll just let them share. Do you guys remember this from Algebra 2? And we just write the answer like that, which is what it would look like if we did it by the quadratic formula. For WebAssign, you're going to have to split it apart, and I'm afraid that just figuring out the right way to type that in is going to cause some trouble. Now at this point, the main thing is how WebAssign is going to let you type it in. There are several ways that this could go, and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but we will know in a couple of days for sure. We think that one of the ways that would make the most sense to me would be -3 plus the square root of 17/2 and -3 minus the square root of 17/2. It would be nice if WebAssign would let you type those in as just giant fractions. If it doesn't, sometimes it'll let you split it into 2 fractions, -3/2 plus the square root of 17/2 and -3/2 minus the square root of 17/2. And the third possible way that online homework will sometimes make you type it in is the worst one, is they will make you factor the 1/2 out, since they're both divided by 2, and say 1/2 times -3. Oh, now I'm lost. -3 plus the square root of 17 and 1/2 times -3 minus the square root of 17. And I just had an even weirder thought. What if they factored out a -1/2? So things could go bad fast in this section. So be sure that you keep all of your homework written down, like in writing, so that if you do miss them just because of a typing error, I can just give you credit for those. It's no big deal, I don't mind. You can even send me a request through WebAssign telling me what went wrong, what problem number, and I can override it for you.